This is Sales Players, and I'm your host, Jesse Woodbury. I've spent my career selling for early stage companies, and now I'm on a mission to help reps and operators find tips, strategies, and resources for generating more pipeline, closing more deals, and building wealth in tech sales. To learn more, visit salesplayers.co. What's going on, everyone? It's Jesse here, and I've got a short episode for you today. If you're listening to this right when it comes out, we are at the end of March, the end of the first calendar quarter, if your company follows a standard calendar fiscal year. And it's been, I think, a rough quarter from talking to lots of my connections in the industry. And there's a lot of reasons for that I won't get into right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy, and it's caused for deals to get pushed out and delayed and deferred and all that stuff. Challenging times. If you're listening right now and you absolutely crushed it in Q1, kudos to you. Keep going. If you didn't hit the number you wanted to hit in Q1, keep going. This is a long game, and you cannot measure your success by individual quarters. It's all about the cumulative results you deliver over long time periods, right? Multiple quarters, years, and even decades. So hang in there. It's really challenging right now. I want you to hear that because I think there's always a little bit of gaslighting in our line of work. There's always some manager that's going to tell you that you can't blame the macroeconomy on your performance, and you probably shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't publicly do that. Doesn't mean it's not true. Try not to make excuses. Try not to point only to problems, but do come to the table with solutions. If you missed your number this quarter, own up to it. Talk about what you're going to do different next quarter and show those results. That's what I've always done, and it's always worked out for me. Even in the quarters where I haven't had the success that I was hoping for, I've still been able to show how I'm going to do better next quarter, how I'm going to continue to grow my book of business, and how I'm going to turn things around, right? There's going to be ups and downs, and that's just part of it. So wanted to get that message out there to everybody first and foremost, because again, it's a really challenging time right now. There's a lot of wait and see going on. If you sell to large companies, a lot of them are trying to do more with less. They're delaying project timelines. They're looking ahead and saying, we can't spend money on this right now. Let's do it in 6 months, or let's hold off on this until next year, until things get a little bit more certain in the economy, until the stock market goes back to where it was, right? There's all these things that large companies or even, commercial sized companies are concerned about. And that's not even speaking to small companies. Small companies are going to have a challenge weathering some of these storms. So just know that you're not crazy if you missed your number. You probably didn't do anything terribly wrong unless you're not putting in the revenue generating activities or you're not putting the inputs in to get the right outputs. But yeah, hang in there and let's win together as much as we can and get through this. It will get better. I really believe that. And I've seen it now a few times, not quite as extreme as some people that have been in the business for 30 years who went through the dot-com bubble and then the '08 recession. And now here we are with a sluggish economy, a lot of uncertainty, lots of change going on very quickly. It causes for challenges within especially more complex enterprise deals. If that's the type of deals you're doing, you're probably hearing your buyers have a lot of hesitance about moving forward, or they're squishy on timeline. They don't know exactly when they're going to get budget approval, or they don't know when they want to implement. Those are really challenging things. And I've got a lot of frameworks that I use in my coaching to help with planning out how to get deals done in a project-oriented way. And I'll probably make a whole episode that walks through that in some way. But just know that there are some things you can do to try to control your destiny a little bit more. When you're talking about managing a project and working against deadlines, you can help establish those with your buyers, with your champion, and really stick to those timelines as long as you have the right stakeholders and the right approvals. One of the themes that I'm seeing this week, in the last couple weeks actually, is I'm having trouble getting progress in deals unless I have access to decision-making power within the company. And I think that's because right now there's just extra controls on spend. Finance teams are putting caps on what individuals can spend on technology right now. There's some ways that you can help get all of those resources marching in the same direction. And the biggest thing you can do is really get access to decision makers. So more to come on that. Next episode will be on getting access to power and the best ways to go about doing that. But I want to dive into another topic that's more on the career front. And I'm speaking to people who maybe earlier on in their tech sales career. And I came across a post on the sales subreddit, and it was all about someone asking, what category of tech or SaaS or AI is the most exciting one to get into right now? If you've been selling for 10, 20 years, what would you suggest someone who's starting out get into? And I responded actually to this post because my take on this is that rather than chasing the trends in the industry, you should do some internal soul searching and figure out what it is you enjoy selling, what types of companies you enjoy selling to, what types of products are interesting to you, what types of problems do you like solving for companies, and what types of professionals do you like to sell to. And I'll give you examples of all of these different things, but I think it's really a lot more important for the longevity of your tech sales career to start to think about what you're excited about, what you're passionate about, and not just chase whatever the hot buzzword is at the moment. And the example I used in my post was a few years ago, blockchain was the big buzzword. And I'm not saying there's not blockchain technology out there that's really interesting and cool, but for a minute there was people saying, oh, blockchain is going to completely revolutionize the enterprise tech stack. And from my understanding, I could be wrong, I could be uninformed, but I don't really see that in my day-to-day. I don't hear a lot of my buyers, my IT persona buyers, they don't tend to ask if we incorporate blockchain into our product. I don't hear about that as much. Someone out there who may be in that segment, correct me if I'm wrong, reach out and I'll make an update on this episode and confess that I don't know what I'm talking about. But again, from what I've seen working with enterprises now for the last 8 years, there was a short, stint of conversation around blockchain, and then suddenly it's just sort of gone by the wayside. And I don't think AI is quite as extreme as blockchain. So that's the analogy here is obviously right now everyone's talking about AI, and I do think AI can be a game changer, and I'm hesitant to use the term game changer because I think there's not really that many things out there that are truly game changers. But AI and automation are things that have been talked about for a while, and of course the technology has come a really long way in a short amount of time. There's definitely some interesting things out there with generative AI. Now, would I hitch my wagon to AI-only companies right now? Probably not, actually. And the other piece of my advice that I mentioned in this post, or this response to this post, was I would actually focus more on technologies that are not going to go anywhere, business processes that are not going to change for 10, 20, 30 years. And you can think of what some of those are. Things like help desk ticketing and CRM systems, those are not going anywhere. Things like data streaming, developer tools, really AI might change the landscape of those things, but it's not going to completely eliminate those. Things like, ERP was one of the other examples. Like nobody's going to change ERP dramatically, but it's a great type of software to sell. If you work at NetSuite or Coupa or one of these ERP platforms, SAP is another one, Oracle, right? These are all really long-standing technologies that are not going to change that much in 20 or 30 years. Sure, they might incorporate some AI elements into them, but ultimately the same business problems are going to exist 10, 20 years from now. So pick a problem that you're passionate about solving for. If you like helping finance teams manage their resources, ERP might be a good category for you to narrow down in your niche. If you like helping contact center leaders like I do, implement tools that help deliver better customer experiences, that make their teams more efficient. Customer service is not going anywhere. It's been around for decades. It's always been around, really. And it will continue to be a very high priority in a lot of companies is how they deliver their products and experiences to customers. That's not going to change. AI can impact that, but it's not going to completely change that, in my opinion. So look at some of those industries that are not going to go anywhere. I'm trying to think what some of the other ones were. ERP, CRM, customer journey type software, Qualtrics, and those types of technologies are not going to go anywhere. Companies still need to understand their customers' feedback and journey. Data streaming, again, companies are always going to need access to data, whether that's to build better products or to manage data pipelines. There's so many ways you could go with that. And then the other piece of the advice is don't sell to someone who you're not passionate about selling to. And my personal example of this is for a while, I was trying to sell to really technical buyers. That's, developers, DevOps. And ultimately, I didn't find myself having a good time doing it. I realize it can be incredibly lucrative, but for me, it just wasn't my thing. And so I pivoted over to what I do now, which is, again, selling to operations leaders, contact center and service leaders. Because for me, I really value building personal relationships with my clients and my prospects. And I like having that type of relationship sale that you don't always get when you're selling to more technical buyers, because most DevOps leaders are not looking to make friends with their account executive. but I can tell you that I have personal friends that I've sold to, and it makes for an awesome career to have people that you've worked with on one deal, and then you go to a new company and you can reach out to that person again and sell to them all over again and partner up with them. And that's the mindset shift, is find a category that you're really passionate about and a buyer persona that you're really passionate about and a business problem that you want to help solve. And then you'll start to really niche down into a very specific thing. And the value to this, and this is actually what the whole episode's about, is if you can niche down your specific category in tech, you'll actually be able to command more pay. You'll generally perform better because you'll have started to build a network effect around your career. I've now been in the CX and CRM category for about 8 years. And as a result, I have a pretty awesome network of people that I can reach out to and try to sell to. I have a lot of industry expertise. I now understand what keeps my buyers up at night. I know what their day-to-day looks like. I've spent time with them in person. I've walked contact center floors. I really understand all the metrics that they're measured by. I know how they make their bonus at the end of the year. Those are all things that will really help you as you specialize, and they will help you ultimately sell more. And then when you go find your next job, it makes it all that much more easy because you now have a network and you have an awareness of who the other tech vendors are in your specific specialty or in your specific category. And so for the last few jobs I've had, people recruited me or through my own network reached out and said, you ought to come work here with us. And that's how I got the role I'm in right now. Is an old sales leader of mine from the industry mentioned that I'd be a really good fit for my current role and introduced me to the CRO. So it's pretty powerful career hack. And it's not even really a hack. It's a long game. You have to spend some years in the specialty. But I don't think enough people are talking about the importance of specializing in one category of tech, and how the highest paid performers that I've worked with and interviewed on the show have been specialists in a specific niche within their tech career. And that doesn't mean you can't change or pivot over the years. I certainly have. That was definitely easier to do 5, 6, 7 years ago, because you could go from selling to marketers to selling to sales enablement teams to selling to DevOps and then back over to selling to executives, right? You could do all those different things, and companies were just hiring like crazy, and they didn't really care if you didn't have specifically sold to marketers before. But now what I'm seeing in the market, and definitely working with my coaching clients, I'm seeing that a lot of hiring managers, a lot of execs are looking for sellers who already know how to sell to that category. So if you're selling to MarTech right now and you go out and look for your next role, you're most likely going to want to start by looking at other MarTech vendors in your same category or a similar category. It's just going to make your job hunt a lot easier. And again, you're going to be able to command the most OTE, the most pay, if you are a specialist in a specific category. So that's it. That's the episode. The takeaway is to specialize at some point in your career. You don't have to do it right away. Again, you can make a couple of pivots and try to figure out what buyer persona you like to sell to, what size company you like to sell to, what industries you like to sell to, what deal size you enjoy selling. Not everyone is going to enjoy selling large enterprise deals. I think that's another misconception in the industry, is that everyone should ultimately get to an enterprise role where you're going to do 250K plus deals on the annual basis. And not everyone enjoys that. I know a lot of people that got there and decided they enjoy selling to commercial and mid-market teams, and they like selling 75K or 100K deals instead of 250K deals or 500K deals. Something I know about myself is, while I would love to close, another $1 million deal, I don't really care to go sell a $5 million deal. Not because it wouldn't be amazing to get a commission check of that size, and it wouldn't be really cool to sell to, a Fortune 30 brand or whatever. But the reality is I'm not a very patient guy. I can handle like a 6, 8, 9 month sales cycle, but outside of that, I start to get a little impatient and I get a little hungry, and ultimately I want to get the deal done. So when I hear about these strat reps that it takes 18 or 24 months to close a deal, I'm always in awe by that, because my attention span's pretty short. I know there's obviously things you're doing every day on a deal like that. There's always activities and new stakeholders and threads that you're building. But for me, I struggle a little bit to think about being patient enough to do a deal like that. Not to say I wouldn't if the opportunity presented itself, but I haven't gravitated towards those roles because I enjoy selling at the deal size that I sell right now. I like, 4 to 6 month deal cycles preferably. A little longer is fine, but I tend to like to have that consistency because for me, that helps me hit my career and financial targets. So that's the episode, everyone. Remember to specialize at some point in your career, build those industry chops, build that network of connections that you can then keep selling to over and over again, and build yourself a nice Rolodex of hiring managers that are also working in the same category. It's going to make your career management much easier. Hope that helps someone out there, and good luck finishing out your first quarter. And if you're not on the weekly mail list, make sure you go to salesplayers.co and subscribe. You'll get weekly emails from yours truly on topics ranging from stories I tell about my own career, ideas, tactics, and all kinds of different campaigns you can run as a seller. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.